Every summer, my hometown reinvents itself for a single weekend. We call it the Festerville Fair, 3 days of fried dough, tinny polka from loudspeakers older than anyone dancing, and the easy illusion that nothing bad ever happens in a place that smells like sugar and gasoline. I'd left for college years ago, but something about that neon skyline always drags me back. It's nostalgia, I tell myself. It's habit. This year, the fair looked better than I remembered. Fresh coats of paint, LED ribbons on every booth, a carousel so newly restored it gleamed like wet candy. Only one thing clashed with the cheery perfection: glossy red signs posted every 30 feet. Festerville Fair rules, big block letters, festive font, ridiculous content. 1. No rides after midnight. 2. Do not make eye contact with the clowns. 3. Ask permission before taking photographs. 4. Curfew strictly enforced by council. At first glance, they read like a publicity stunt. People posed beside them for selfies. Vendors laughed that the no midnight rides rule must have come from insurance. Yet the PA system repeated them every hour in a sing-song voice, the same female recording that used to announce lost children. The repetition made the fair feel watched. I met my best friend Jamie near the Ferris wheel. The sunset painted everything gold, even the puddles of oil. We joked about sneaking back later for the carousel, just to say we'd broken Rule 1. Jamie grinned, waving a funnel cake like a flag of defiance. Behind him, a clown on stilts passed by slowly, red balloons groaning against each other in the heat. Its painted eyes didn't blink. A marching band struck up near the main gate, brass bright enough to hide how the crowd noise thinned. I told myself it was imagination. The fair always feels like a dream right before nightfall. Still, as the PA voice chirped through the static, "Remember, friends, the rules keep you safe," I couldn't help thinking safety was not what the council had in mind. By nightfall, the rules had become part of the soundtrack. The recorded voice echoed between rides, cutting through carousel music and laughter. It didn't even sound human anymore, just pitch-perfect sincerity streaming from warped speakers. Jamie and I wandered past the ticket booths as volunteers hammered a fresh sign into the grass, another full list, laminated like scripture. A family read it out loud while waiting for corn dogs. No rides after midnight. Don't look the clowns in the eyes. No photos without permission. Do not leave the fairgrounds before curfew. Curfew? Jamie scoffed. What is this, summer camp? A security guard in an oversized yellow vest gave him a look sharp enough to puncture. The smile stayed plastered on his face, but his eyes begged, "Don't push it." He leaned close enough for me to smell diesel and sweat. "Council added that one today," he whispered. "Keeps everyone safe." Then he drifted away, his radio hissing a low, indecipherable hum. The loudspeakers clicked again. Same voice, slightly slower, as if listening for reactions. Rule 4 added by council today. Do not leave the fairgrounds before curfew. Failure to obey will result in revocation of admission and penalties. Penalties? The word landed wrong in the middle of the Ferris wheel jingle. We kept joking, trying to shrug it off. Maybe they don't want drunks wandering into traffic, I said. Or they built the world's longest haunted house and don't want us to spoil the ending. Jamie raised an eyebrow. Then it's definitely worth sneaking out early. He snapped a mock salute toward a clown running a balloon dart game. The clown didn't react, didn't even twitch, just kept grinning, identical eyes painted too wide. The painted smile turned toward us slower than flesh should move, balloon string taut between its fingers. A wind gust turned half the signs sideways, clattering them like applause. The crowd laughed, already forgetting. "See," Jamie said, "it's just weather." But the recorded voice came back one last time, softer than before, almost paternal. "Have fun, everyone. Obey the rules, and we'll keep the fun alive." The speaker crackled out. Then, very faintly, a whisper at the edge of static. "We mean that literally." When the council asked for volunteers to help clean booths after closing, I said yes before thinking. It was the kind of favor that kept small towns running. You lend a hand, you stay part of the fold. Jamie signed up too, mostly to raid the leftover funnel cakes. By 10, the midway was half dark, the air thick with fried sugar and tired music. Families drifted away toward the parking field, while the remaining vendors stacked popcorn tubs and powered down rides. A storm far off painted the horizon bruise purple. The carnival lights looked brighter against it, almost alive. We were assigned to trash duty near the funhouse. The mirrors inside still reflected lights, even though the generator was off, each pane quivering as if breathing. I tried not to look at them. The fortune teller's trailer sat across the path, curtain fluttering. She, real name Marta Belinsky, 70 if a day, watched us work with eyes like clouding marbles. "You shouldn't stay late," she said when I passed with the broom. Her accent sanded down the words, "Not this year." "Why?" "Something wrong with the rides?" I asked, just to make conversation. Her mouth thinned. "Not rides, rules. They are the same. We keep them, or they keep us." Before I could ask what that meant, she drew her curtain shut, leaving only the smell of candle wax and ozone. We worked in uneasy silence for a while. The speaker near the empty lemonade stand kept clicking on and off, as if testing itself. No voice. Then a half sentence, warped. "Thank you for your service, volunteers," before squealing into feedback. Jamie winced. Man, even the ghosts here are polite. A stray balloon drifted down the path, bumping along the dirt until it rolled to a stop against my ankle. Blue rubber, the words "Stay till the end" stamped in glitter. I popped it with my broom for the cheap thrill of the sound. A puff of dust, faintly sweet, hung in the air. "Guess they use sugar instead of helium now," Jamie joked. But when we turned back toward the carousel, every balloon tied along its fence was slowly rising, not shrinking, not popping, lifting as if pulled by something upward that none of us could see. By midnight, thunder had passed us by, leaving a film of humidity so thick it muffled the speakers. The midway looked hollow now, the lights still burning, but the laughter gone. Jamie finished stacking cardboard cups, wiped his forehead, and grinned that impulsive grin I used to envy. "Let's make history," he said, tossing the last cup into the bin. "Rule 1 is about to die." He climbed the carousel fence before I could argue. The ride's organ pipes whined awake, producing a lazy, endless note. He pulled out his phone and started live streaming. "That's right, folks," he sang into the camera. "Ghost Carousel Challenge." The platform shuddered on its own. Plastic horses bobbed, joints crackling like popping knuckles. Jamie laughed, calling it a motion sensor startup, but the fairground-wide PA hissed to life mid-sentence. The woman's voice had lost its warmth. "Midnight activation detected. Please vacate all rides." Jamie winked at me, still defiant. "Someone's watching from security." He raised his phone. On his screen, we could see ourselves, me scowling below, him on the saddle, until the feed glitched to static. Pixels crawled across his face, his reflection split tenfold, then emptied. When the image returned, the horse rode by itself. His phone clattered off the platform, still streaming the empty ride circling again and again. "Jamie!" I vaulted the fence as the organ stuttered into frantic carnival music. Each horse jerked faster, poles spinning until motion blurred into streaks of metallic red and gold. Wind pressed outward from the center, laced with an unnatural cold. I lunged for the emergency switch. The moment my hand hit the lever, the machine stopped. No wind down, just perfect silence. Only one horse faced me now, its painted eyes cracked open wider than before. Where Jamie's name tag pinned earlier on his shirt, a tiny piece of metal gleamed at the corner of its mouth. The whole fair seemed to inhale, a single collective breath that came from the lights, the booths, the speakers, all waiting. Then the PA whispered, just above a whisper, but everywhere at once. Rule 1 maintained. Incident logged. The lights blinked back to life. Crow music resumed its false cheer. On the carousel's horses, flecks of white foam glistened as if they just sweated through a midnight ride. Across the fairgrounds, another ride spun up for no reason at all. Someone else was breaking a rule. Security sealed the carousel behind plastic sheeting before sunrise. They said Jamie had left early, and they didn't like me asking how early or through which exit. By noon, the fair had reopened in full glare of daylight, the council pretending nothing happened. Children laughed again, music played, and the carousel spun politely under new supervision. Only one horse was missing a nameplate. I should have gone home. Instead, I volunteered for another night shift. Curiosity, guilt, maybe both. That's how you become the next story on the news. Just before dusk, the clowns came out of storage. The costumed performers didn't arrive in vans or walk from the tents. They seemed to be already there, standing in rows by the dunk tank as if they'd been waiting under tarps all day. Orange and blue makeup, ruffles stiff from old powder. None of them joked. None of them even moved until the PA chimed 7 bells. Then, in perfect unison, they tilted their heads toward the crowd. Rule 2 warned us not to meet their eyes. Easy enough until one stepped into our booth light. A child accidentally flashed a camera. The clown's collar quivered, bright paint reflecting like fish scales. Its pupils contracted, real, living eyes underneath the paint. For 2 heartbeats, it stared straight into me. Sound vanished. The world folded down to breath and heartbeat, and I saw myself from behind its grin, every movement reversed like a film running backward. Then someone yanked me aside, the flashbulb died, and the trance cracked. Across the midway, the clown returned to stillness, head tipping side to side as if pesting gravity. By 9 o'clock, half the photos taken on the grounds showed streaked faces where performers should have been. One booth owner swore his clown mannequin was taller now. His tape measure confirmed it had grown 2 inches. I barricaded our stand and watched from within. The line of clowns remained through the night, motionless, facing whichever way the cameras weren't, biding their time until another flash called them to life. By the second night, the crowd had thinned to thrill seekers and stubborn locals. The rumor about Jamie's prank was already mutating. Some said he'd run off with carnies, others that he'd staged an art piece. Nobody mentioned the missing horse. They just kept paying for rides, desperate to prove they weren't scared. I was wiping down tables near the ring toss when a tourist family stopped beside the Ferris wheel, arguing over angles for a group photo. The mother wanted the wheel lit behind them, the father wanted the rows of clowns. They compromised. He took both. The flash turned night white for an instant, a lightning strike of arrogance. Then the camera emitted a faint, continuous click, even after he lowered it. When he checked the screen, his smile collapsed. Every photo showed the same thing. The Ferris wheel unmoving, the fair empty, the booths replaced by tents from a century ago. And in each picture, the people blurred further, until, in the last shot, they simply weren't there. Only 2 scuffed sneakers remained by the gate, toes pointed inward, as if politely waiting. Security gathered fast, confiscating the device. I overheard an officer shout, "Delete the duplicates!" But the man with the camera only shook his head. "There aren't duplicates," he whispered. "It keeps adding more." The LCD flickered like a pulse monitor, a new image developing every few seconds, always of the same Ferris wheel, smaller now, sinking below ground frame by frame. At 3 a.m., the mayor arrived in full suit. He ordered everyone home, convinced it would die down once daylight washed away superstition. As we cleared the midway, the PA system coughed into life. The voice, hers again, smiled through static. Photography of restricted subjects violates Rule 3. Please dispose of all unapproved film. The Ferris wheel lights blinked out, one cabin at a time, until only the topmost cart shone like a coin balanced on darkness. It swayed once in a wind that didn't exist, then stopped. No one touched a camera after that. But every reflective surface, mirrors, puddles, windows, kept flashing as if someone else still was. Morning brought banners of mandatory optimism. Bright yellow headlines stapled to every board. Festerville Fair continues. City Council assures public safety. Jamie's absence, the tourist family, the twisted rides, all rewritten into friendly copy about maintenance setbacks. We were encouraged to smile, volunteer, and preserve tradition. Reporters tried to stage interviews until the mayor himself strode through the midway with fresh confidence and a strategically rehearsed grin. He held a megaphone like a priest gripping a chalice. Nothing to fear, folks. These rumors are pure circus exaggeration. The fair is our heritage, and heritage is safe when rules are obeyed. People clapped, maybe relieved to be told how. Workers reopened booths. The PA voice returned, steady as respiration, reading the rules again, slower now, as though teaching children to recite scripture. Each syllable dragged, vibrating through the ground. When I mentioned to Chief Dyer that 3 people were missing, he handed me a clipboard. "Accidents make insurance nervous," he said. "Write statements privately, not gossip. Keeps morale tidy." I noticed the space beside his thumb had an oily residue shaped like a shoe print, nothing human-sized, the texture of latex. He caught me staring and closed his hand. That afternoon, the council hosted a televised press check. Every few seconds, their wireless mics stuttered, tiny bursts of circus music bleeding in. The sound tech shrugged. The mayor smiled harder. Behind him, the Ferris wheel restarted, slowly spinning on its own. Nobody had reconnected the generator. By sundown, attendance reached record numbers. Families rushed in to prove bravery. Kids wore glow sticks and shouted that the fair was cursed, delighted by their own rebellion. That's how denial works. It rebrands horror as entertainment. As night settled, I stood near the raffle tent. The woman on the loudspeaker, perhaps real, perhaps recorded, offered tonight's prize with lilting humor. "And to our most obedient guests go special rides after curfew." The crowd cheered. No one caught the slip. There was no longer a before curfew. It simply hadn't arrived. The clocks along Main Street had stopped at 9:59 p.m. and never restarted. Still, the mayor smiled beneath the frozen lights, insisting the fair was safe as long as the rules were faithfully observed. Faith had saved no one last night. The mayor's cheer sounded like static even in recall. By dawn, I'd had enough denial to last a lifetime. I drove to the library, the only building in town still quieter than the church, and begged the librarian for old fair records. She gave a look I'd never seen on her before, the kind reserved for fire alarms and confessions. "Basement," she whispered. "Top drawer of the microfilm cabinet. Don't turn on the overheads." Downstairs, the dust smelled of film chemicals and forgotten time. I fed a curled strip into the reader, light humming to life in nicotine yellow. The headline frozen there read, 1929, Tragedy at Annual Fair, 20 feared dead in funhouse fire. The photograph captured smoke uncoiling above tents just like ours. Beneath, a caption, "Authorities to establish safety protocols for future events." Below that, a bullet point list. No eye contact with performers. Permit required for photography. Every 90 years, the same event. Same date, same fairground. Each generation repainting over it, renaming it, pretending folklore was regulation. The next roll confirmed another pattern. 1959. 10 missing in electrical malfunction. Carnival rules revised for public safety. The rules were upgrades to containment, not precautions. At the edge of one torn frame, in the smoke, something mirrored light back into the lens. An impossible reflection where no mirror remained. The caption simply read, "Image distortion not explained." When I climbed upstairs, the librarian was gone. Her desk phone dangled, emitting faint midway music through static. I followed the sound outside. The fair, 20 blocks away, was visible over the rooftops, its searchlights already sweeping shadows though noon sun still blazed. I sat on the steps holding that single frame against the light, trying to rationalize. Maybe repetition happens when people lie well enough to rewrite history. Maybe something older learns the pattern and joins the performance. My phone vibrated, an unknown number. Static first, then a sing-song woman's script I'd memorized. Thank you for contacting Festerville Archives. Please confirm attendance for your reserved time slot. Admission at sunset. Then a chirp. Recording ended. No number to call back. The next line in my notebook wrote itself. Once a rule is written, it doesn't care who enforces it. And mine was about to be tested again. Thunder rolled in as I parked by the fairgrounds again. The gate guards didn't ask for tickets. They just watched me pass, eyes shining wet under the lamps. Inside, everything smelled like sugar left too long on a stove. Sweet, then scorched. Half the booths were unmanned, yet merchandise lined the counters as if invisible sellers were minding stock. Mechanical rides turned themselves, slow and deliberate. The lights no longer blinked rhythm, they throbbed. Storm clouds mirrored them with flashes of dull orange. I found the fortune teller's trailer where we'd left it 2 nights ago, curtains shredded down the middle. Marta was gone, but her crystal ball glowed faintly, a tiny carousel spinning inside the glass. Each horse's nose was marked with a dark smear shaped exactly like a fingerprint. When the PA system chimed, the voice carried over distant thunder like liturgy. Dear patrons, Day 2 of the Festerville Fair is officially open. Tonight's theme, Remembrance. Lightning split the horizon. The Ferris wheel rotated backward. At its peak hung the faint outline of a person in one of the cabins, swaying. I shouted, but the sound drowned in wind and organ music. I ran toward the main stage, the same platform where the mayor had grinned through denial 12 hours earlier. Only one spotlight burned. The microphone stood upright, a dark ribbon fluttered from it. The ribbon wasn't cloth, it was a necktie, his. Then the PA crackled again. Violation of Rule 1 detected beyond recovery. Rule 2 under collaboration. Rule 4 active pending. The rest dissolved into laughter, hundreds of overlapping voices sharing one mouth. Somewhere close, a carousel tune struck up on its own. The notes were wrong, each drawn out like a scream masked by brass. I counted the rotations of light until I could recognize every horse. A new one had joined the pattern, eyes painted in fresh blue. It wore Jamie's nameplate. When the ride completed its circuit, the rest of the fair flickered, turning itself back on like machinery tested after power loss. The second night had started, whether the town wanted it or not, and I was still inside. After the mayor vanished, the council's voice, that honeyed woman from the PA, grew urgent, almost excited. Patrons, curfew begins in 10 minutes. For your safety, please remain on the grounds. Her tone teetered between command and glee. I didn't wait for 10 minutes. Rule 4 forbade leaving before curfew. I couldn't afford to find out the enforcement. The midway exits looked close enough from the stage, but every path bent around like a toy racetrack. Left took me past the cotton candy stand 4 times. Right looped me back to Marta's split curtain. When I tried running straight down the central lane, the ground revolved beneath my feet, the booths sliding sideways so that I stayed perfectly centered no matter how far I ran. Above, balloons rose in slow spirals, not popping against the rain, drifting to impossible heights and blinking out like vanishing stars. Their strings remained, dangling at waist level, twitching as though tugged from the other side of the sky. The loudspeakers filled with applause, recorded crowd noise stitched together into human cheer. The voice returned, breathy now. Brave participant detected, testing boundaries of Rule 4. A second masculine voice joined her, layered over in cracked harmony. For the show to go on, someone must try to leave. Wooden barricades sprouted overnight, literal growing fences of carnival fencing inching upward like vines twisting from soil. I climbed one, splinters biting through gloves. The other side shimmered with distance, dark fields, the glow of highway lights, freedom made of mirage. Every time I hauled myself higher, the view sank away, folding out of reach. At the top rail, the air buzzed cold. Lightning flared, and for one frozen flash, I saw all the missing faces. Jamie, the tourist family, the mayor, standing among the crowd near the ticket booth, smiles pinned too wide, palms raised in wordless wave. They weren't angry, they were inviting me back in. The wind dropped. The lights dimmed to black except for a single bulb above my head, throbbing white, red, white like a heartbeat. The voice whispered right beside my ear now, close enough to mist my hair. Leaving ends the story. We need an ending people remember. I jumped. For half a second the world flipped, fairground upside down, rain rising instead of falling, and then my boots hit dirt on the far side. Silence. The sound inside the fair didn't chase me. It waited. When I turned back, the entrance sign had already changed. Welcome back to the final night. I stumbled through dew-wet grass until my lungs ripped at the air, expecting distance to break the fair's spell. Instead, 10 paces out the gates, I met another row of ticket booths, identical, glowing, freshly painted. The fair had outflanked me, unfolding like an origami trap. The smell hit first. Caramel, smoke, a sweetness hiding rot. Music drifted in reverse tempo, dragging every note through molasses. Strobe lights burst to life across the empty midway, illuminating rows of linen-draped tables that hadn't been there before. Silverware and wine glasses gleamed, porcelain plates reflected flickers of the rides, except the reflections danced before the lights touched them, as if anticipating illumination. A banner hung above the dining lane, Annual Gala of Gratitude, thank you for your service. Figures filled the seats one blink at a time, forming from haze. Vendors, tourists, volunteers, all immaculate, all too still. Their eyes shimmered with the same gloss as the clown masks. Across from me, Jamie lifted a toast, skin waxen, smile wrong. I backed away, but unseen ushers appeared behind, guiding me with gentle hands wearing gloves that felt wet. A plate settled in front of me, white china marked Rule 4 completed in looping sauce. The courses arrived wordlessly. Funnel cake coils fried so dark they resembled hair, corn dogs bleeding jam instead of ketchup. Each platter steamed with sweetness that smelled faintly of burnt paint. The mayor presided at the head table. His tie, still missing from the microphone earlier, was tied neatly now. He raised a goblet, and the PA voice echoed through every open mouth at once. Dear citizens, we feast in honor of obedience. Those who followed the rules shall never leave hungry. Then laughter erupted, a sound like shutters snapping in unison. On the serving trays lay name tags gleaming under carnival phosphor. Marta Belinsky, Chief Dyer, Tourist Family of 4. The air thickened with cooked sugar and chemical smoke. Someone whispered close enough for breath to brush my ear. Eat before they notice you still breathe. I lifted the fork, feigned a bite, and let jam-sweet heat coat my lips. Every head around the table nodded in approval. That moment bought seconds to move. I upended my chair and ran, the applause following me down the lane in perfect rhythm with the carousel tune. The feast had everything a community wanted: food, song, unity, except life. At sunrise, the fair was spotless again. The same red and white tents fluttered in cool wind, the rides sparkling as if freshly painted. No smoke, no blood, no trace of midnight, except a faint caramel crust burned into the grass. Reporters called it a record turnout. The council called it the most successful festival year. No one questioned the missing because absence becomes decor here. It leaves room for next year's banners. I woke on a park bench outside the gates, jam sticky on my fingers, a ticket stub folded into my palm. Different design this time, embossed silver, one line of text, Rule 0. On the reverse, in charming handwriting, come see us again next year. I tried burning it with a lighter. The paper flared blue, folded in on itself, and reappeared whole in my pocket before I could blink. Every so often, I still hear the fair's jingle slip through radio ads or the town's emergency tests. 3 cheerful notes, then a whisper stitched into static. Don't miss our main event. I used to change the station. Now I take notes, because someone has to remember. The town says the fair will expand next summer to share our joy with neighboring counties. They're building new power lines, fresh terrain for the Ferris wheel. The engineers laugh off interference when their equipment turns itself on at midnight. One said the sound of screeching metal from the site was like applause. They all survived inspection day, so far. I nailed one last sign to the welcome gate this morning, red paint dripping across the letters. The council ripped it down within an hour, but some people read it first. All I wrote was, Rule 0, do not attend the fair. If you drive through Festerville and see new posters promising fireworks and free tickets, keep going. Don't follow the music, no matter how nostalgic it feels. You'll think you recognize the smell of sugar and gasoline. It's just bait. I report because the pattern always needs new mouths to speak the warnings. That's how the curse survives, through storytellers who never quite burn the ticket. If this recording plays near you, someone's already setting up tents nearby. Listen carefully before you hear the music too clearly. If they post new rules overnight, that's your sign. Break Rule 0 while you still can. Leave before they start calling your name over the PA.